Hey, what's up guys? Nick the Informative Fisherman here. Today I'm going to be breaking down the panfish / trout box from Lucky Tackle Box. I'm kind of just going to give you a little partial semi-opening of it and talk about each one of the products and how I go about using it. Maybe pick a couple and hopefully go catch some big panfish behind my house. Some pretty interesting stuff in this month's box, so let's break it down. All right, got her open. Now, I've already pre-prepared this. It didn't come open like this. There's fancy wrapping around it when you get it, of course. I got the Jenko crappie crank. This is like a medium-sized crankbait. This looks like a standard like 1.5 size crank, but maybe a little bit bigger. Some Mustad size 6 long shake hooks, good for your kids for pan fishing. The bait cloud. Now this is cool. I played with this live on my Instagram the other night. I'm going to show you this guy. The little inlight spinner from Bait Rigs. These are always killer for trout and crappie and for any panfish for that matter. An inline spinner like a rooster tail style bait. Always kill. Little juvenile shad presentations from Big Bite Baits. These guys make some really good quality plastics and it looks like there's quite a few in there, which is nice. And some Northland Tackle minnow baits, some heavier jig heads on here. These are 1/4 ounce, which is nice because we're in the summertime. Those crappie could be down deeper in rock piles or deeper on bridge pilings, and you need to get down there to them fast. Some little micro tubes by Little Hustler. Little tubes like this are great. Once you have the fish pinned down and you're showing them multiple presentations with the hard bait and they stop biting, this is where you can switch those lighter jig heads and pick them apart. They're a nice gray, black, and silver little juvenile bait fish presentation or a little juvenile shad presentation. So let's rig them up, hop on the water, and see if we can catch some fish. Let's do it. All right, guys, I'm on with that little Bait Rigs inline spinner. I was just setting it up on my Finesse stick with some 6-pound fluorocarbon. First little test cast. Caught us a nice red ear. My dog's gonna help us out with them. Let me show you this fish. Nothing too big, but a nice red ear to get it started. First cast with that little inline spinner, got it done. I'll take it. Let's get the other one rigged up. I'll show you what I got it on and let's go break these baits down. All right guys, so I got the crappie crank rigged up on my sticks. It's a medium power 7'2" moderate fast taper bait casting rod right here with 12-pound fluorocarbon line. And then I have that inline spinner rigged up on my sticks Finesse stick. This is a light power spinning rod with 4-pound fluorocarbon line. Now these are both search baits. I'm looking to find fish before I slow down with the other stuff I showed you. Those smaller plastics you can't cast as far and cover water as fast. So if I go to a spot, catch some on these hard baits and the bite starts to slow down, there's something cool in there with that bait ball that maybe we can re-trigger more active fish into feeding, or we could switch to those finesse baits and try to catch them at that point. But let's give it a shot. Just throwing that inline spinner, and one thing I want you to see right here is there's grass and algae that grows about 20 foot off the shoreline. This is a slow tapering bank. Oh, just missed it by a big red ear, just missed. So what I'm doing is I'm lining up on about 20-25 feet off the bank, and I'm casting straight out to the bank, kind of not directly in front of me, but up to the bank to where I'm covering a large angle and I'm staying in that strike zone. The grass doesn't grow much farther out from the boat, so if I position the boat farther back this way, my cast becomes more 90 degrees and I'm covering less of that key area with the grass and algae that they're hiding down in. If I get right on the edge of that grass and make a longer cast, I'm coming through a strike zone the whole time, and I'm going to figure out whether they're eating it over deeper water, whether they're eating it over shallow water. So let's say if I consistently get bit 5 feet from the bank, well, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my boat in within about 5 feet of the bank and throw straight directly in front of the boat and stay on that strike zone the whole time. So what I'm doing right now is I'm strictly making a cast out up near the bank, and I'm bringing it out across that 20 foot distance off the shoreline, which is only about 6 foot deep. But there's plenty of grass and plenty of growth right in there, and it's really going to tell me where these fish are coming out of it. And a lot of the time too, the position of the fish, if I see a bluegill or red ear come up directly behind it, I know more than likely he came out of shallow water. If I see one coming more up, I know they're in deeper water. And with an inline spinner like this, I can cast out and hesitate over deeper water and let it get a little bit closer to their head. If you see them coming straight up, that means you either should have reeled slower or you should have let your bait fall a little bit deeper before you started your retrieve. Now, since we're fishing in the middle of the day like this, we only have about 1.5 feet, maybe 2 foot maximum visibility. So a lot of these fish are gonna eat right on that visual line. They're probably gonna be down about 1.5 feet, 2 foot deep, and right along the edge of that grass line. So what that's gonna allow me to do is cover water a little bit shallower and a little bit faster. If the water was real clean, I would probably have to fish a little bit slower and a little bit deeper to get down there in front of them. Also with, he's hitting it, he's hitting it. That fish was going crazy for it. He came up straight behind it, so I know I was doing something right. He came from the shallow water, so I'm gonna keep casting up shallow. But also, shade lines in the middle of the day. Just like your bass fishing or anything else in regards to panfish, if you're fishing shallow and you have an option to throw a shade line, like you see these willow trees right over here, let me try to not get it hung up. Let's try to bring it right past this shade line. They too are going to prefer to sit in the shade. It's a little bit cooler and it also offers them an ambush area to target. All right, we're on. This one feels a little bit better. He's not taking drag. This looks like a hybrid. Bluegill slash red ear mix is exactly what it is. Pretty chunky fish right there. I mean, definitely wanted the spinner. Got it right in the position of the upper inside lip right there. A lot of the time you can tell if you're on a presentation that they want to eat. If it's in the top roof of their mouth, that's a presentation they wanted to eat. Sometimes you'll get these panfish hooked outside of the mouth. That generally means your color just wasn't quite right, or your size wasn't just quite right. So you can get those little clues. If it's in the mouth, definitely keep casting the same bait. If they're foul hooked on the outside of the mouth, maybe you're moving your bait around too much, going too fast. You have the wrong color or wrong size. But remember, if you connect with the fish, you're partially right. If it's inside their mouth, you're right. And if it's way back in their mouth, you're really right. So keep on doing that exact same thing that you were doing. And you always want to remember is play with your speed. Oh, got him. Play with your speed. Play with your cadence on how you change it up, whether you're reeling fast and hesitating, or whether you're popping your lure. Another little baby female bluegill. This spinner right now is the baby hunter. We might have to throw that crappie crank through there and see if we can get us a bigger red ear. Pretty little fish. But you got to remain thinking at all times. So this is what they're chewing right here. I'm not getting the big ones yet. I've only got a few fish. I'm going to keep throwing it and see if I can get those bigger fish to eat it. If not, I'm going to switch to that crappie crank, which is a little bit on the big side, but I have caught lots of big red ears and lots of big crappie on the smaller crankbaits too. All right, guys, so I just grabbed that bait cloud out. I want you to watch this. This thing's cool. It's kind of like an Alka-Seltzer. Don't smell it up close. I did it the other night and almost induced vomiting. So if your friend swallows something bad, keep one of those in your pocket, have them lick it, and that'll get them past it really quick. I really wouldn't suggest that. I don't know, but it's nasty. I could, just downwind, I'm tasting this thing. So watch this. Kaboom! Watch, the bubbles are gonna start coming up, and it releases all sorts of little food particles coming out of it. It's just like one of those long-term things you stick in a fish tank to feed the fish, but it's letting loose fish particles and it releases it much fast. Little food particles for all these little fish. Hooked us into a bigger one here. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Fatty McGee. Here we are. That is another female red ear. Now you can see how this fish is a little bit longer, kind of more of the shape of a crappie. A lot of the time, what you think might be a giant bluegill is a hybrid bluegill slash red ear, but they look more of the shape of a bluegill, more coin shape. You can see how this fish is longer right here, has no vertical bars. That is a pure breed female. A big red ear just broke me off. I got a little anxious with the 4-pound. Guess we'll switch over to cranking them and maybe try something else. We'll see. Catching some good fish here, running out of time in my day. But that little inline spinner was absolutely a killer. Kind of sucks that I just donated. I wish the panfish were like bass and he'd jump up and throw it, but the thing sinks too darn fast. So darn, LTB, please send me another one, or maybe 10. Thank you. Okay, now I've switched over to that Jenko crappie crank. Now here's the thing. You know, on smaller ponds and stuff, these size crankbaits get a heck of a lot of fish. This is an 8 to 12 foot diving crankbait. Now when they say 8, I'm assuming that's on 20-pound line. When they say 18, I'm assuming it's on 8-pound line. The thinner the diameter of the line, the deeper your bait's going to go. The farther you cast, the deeper your bait's going to go. And if you want to troll it 150 feet back, probably even on 12 or 15-pound fluorocarbon, you probably get 18 feet deep. So that's the equation. A standard cast is roughly 85 feet in length, and most crankbaits are tuned on 12-pound line. So if that gives you any rough estimate, you could divide the difference, say 8 and 18, call it 13 feet on 12-pound line on a standard cast. So there's a simple little math equation for you if you're throwing crankbaits. I don't think I'm going to get a lot of panfish on this. If I do, it's going to be 1 or 2, or I'm hunting for the bigger, badder panfish. When I hunt for the big giant red ears, February through March and November through December is my favorite time to throw them. And that's when I'll throw a lot of the bigger crankbait style baits like this to hunt out the bigger, badder beasts. So if you want to try to do that, that's a great time to do that. And that's also a really good time to catch big crappie, so with your bigger crankbaits. So keep that in mind. In the summertime too, you know, getting down deeper on rocks, this is going to be very effective. I have a grassy bottom right here, so I'm kind of getting it hung up in the grass and ripping it free. But if I had a rock bottom, this would be more effective in the summertime. But here it's muddy and grassy. But I still use it at those times and still catch a lot of big ones. No. Oh, he's on. Look at that. So I went out to 13 feet deep, my lake, because this bait was getting down deeper. And I got me a hybrid on that crappie crank. I thought it was a big bass at first. He hit it like a big bass. He pushed slack into it and I started reeling fast. And he loaded up. But you can see that hook's in the mouth. These hybrids and red ears will definitely come up and chomp a crankbait like that. This isn't the biggest one, but big baits equal big fish, and that's the same thing applies in regards to panfish, guys. Not always, but a good percentage of the time, especially when the fish are actively feeding, there's no reason to use a small bait and keep catching small fish. When you notice that the fish are actively feeding, that is a great time to try a bigger bait, like the crappie crank right there, and you may hook into a panfish of a lifetime. You never know. Just yesterday, I caught 2 red ears at the exact same time on a topwater popper, so crazy stuff happens. Hooked up on the crappie crank on a largemouth. I was gonna say, when I set the hook, it didn't even want to move, so it's a decent bass, that's for sure. Well, maybe more than decent. We'll see, huh? Get away from that trolling motor. Uh-oh. Please tell me you're not stuck in my trolling motor. You are, aren't you? Uh-oh. Well, that was good timing. All right, let's see what's going on here. Got him. I don't know how well he had this crankbait. He went airborne. Gosh dang it, he's down in the grass areas. Oh, that's a good bass. Let me grab the net. Since this is more of a crappie sized crankbait, the hooks aren't huge. And I'm running the stock hooks, so I'm gonna net them. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Nice cranking bass right there. See the crappie crank just pop right out. I'm glad I got the net for it to pop that out that easy. Probably around 3 pounds, nice fish. Probably mid 2s, upper 2s, right around there. Nice thick belly. A great surprise catch on that crappie crank. I'll take them. Goodbye, pal. Another hybrid out deep. Dang. This one's getting them, man. I didn't think I was gonna get this many fish. I got 2 panfish and the big bass in probably about 30 minutes. That's not too bad. I'm definitely not complaining. It's a hot, bright, sunny day. We got a little bit of breeze on the water, which I think's helping us out. All right, guys, so I fan casted around the lake with those reaction baits, broke off the spinner. I located some fish, and now I'm gonna go back with this little tube jig right here on a must-have jig head previously that I got in another LTB box, and try to finesse catch a whole lot more than we caught previously with those reaction baits in those spots. We're gonna show these fish a little something different and pick off a lot of extras, something we refer to as a milk run. We'll go back through, know where we located fish, go back through, fish at Finesse, milk it for everything it's worth. All right, guys, I think I'm hooked into a pretty big red ear or something. Honestly, let me back off the drag. It feels like a good one. On that tube jig, on that mustad jig head, that little, yeah, this is big. What, I got a freaking turtle or something? It's a good one. Unless he's foul hooked. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
I hear drag.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Woo! Nothing gets your heart racing like a drag pumper. I better get to this net. Woo! Oh my gosh. Okay, this is a massive red ear. Okay, this was the cast we needed to make. Come on, baby. Don't blow this, Nick. Don't blow this. This is a mag. This is a magnum, more than likely. I consider a magnum red ear over 12 inches. And this definitely looks like a mag right here. Don't break. Please don't break. Please don't break. Don't break. Don't break. Don't break. Yes, yes, yes. Oh my gosh. That is a monster. Monster, monster, monster. And I do have my bump board in here to measure. Look at this. How many red ears can you lip like that? That's pushing mag right there. That is an absolute tank. Look how thick that fish is. That is a monster red ear. All right, let me take the bump board, wet it. I never want something on a hot day. And mouth shut. Touching right there. This fish is a hair under 13 inches. Woo! Another magnum. Awesome being able out here to film some LTB films and stick a magnum red ear like that. Let's let him go. Wow, lucky day. Lucky day, bud, thank you. All right, here's that big bite. Now this is like a little juvenile shad right here. These translucent colors are white. If it was pure white, I'll use it in muddy water, but more of the translucent type of patterns like that I like in cleaner water. So I went with a dark red jig head with a black eye to create a focal point and then a little bit more natural. The shell cracker and bluegill tend to be more of a bottom feeder or eating crawfish and crustaceans. The crappie and like green sunfish really like to eat a lot of the minnow patterns. And this kind of looks more like a minnow. I'm hoping we can get a crappie to eat. It's the middle of the day and they've been more keyed in on feeding at nighttime for me, but still having a blast. Hooked up on it. Looks to be like a hybrid. We'll take a look here. Oh yeah, nice pretty hybrid. Now with the hybrid you can kind of see more of the bluegill traits, more of that amber belly. Still kind of, I would say, leaning more towards red ear than bluegill. Sometimes you get mixtures of the traits like that. Sometimes they're like a pure half and half. Sometimes they have just wild colors to them. I love it. Those hybrids just kind of bring the best of both worlds sometimes. Okay, here's something. So this is interesting right here. Now, when you look at this, see this right here? He doesn't have the bars. He looks like a long bluegill, but look at the size of the mouth right here. This is another interesting trait. This is another crossbreed. This is another hybrid. It is a bluegill slash red ear, but what he looks like is pure bluegill on the side, but you can see how much longer he is like a red ear. And he also has a much larger mouth than a normal bluegill. So even though he has the exact same colors, it's still a hybrid, which is quite interesting. Here we go, made the right call. I've been throwing bottom baits for a while and freaking threw on a minnow imitator. Slow rolling it, barely shaking it in the water column, stuck that guy. All right guys, I am dying of heat. And I'm sweating like a big boy in a buffet line, so it's time to go back into the house, get something to drink. Hopefully you guys learned something from this video. Remember guys, if you like this video, make sure to click that subscribe button, hit that little bell notification on there so you can get every video when we release it. We appreciate you guys watching, and best of fishing.